This is welcome to my live show, Classroom Without Walls. I actually took a short break from hosting live streaming shows for 5 months, and I really have to thank my accountability partner, anyone in my planner community to really just like push me, hold me accountable. But anyway, so I'm excited to come back to restart my live streaming show. And so I'm actually doing a series and talking about common parenting mistakes that can endanger our children's careers and future. And so that is what we're going to discuss today. It will be about 20 to 30 minutes ish. And if this is the first time that you hear me speak or watch me talk, I'm a professor turned entrepreneur. And I run my own education company called Classroom Without Walls. And I use my own curriculum. And actually, what inspired me to do this series of live training is because I have heard, after conversing with so many parents and working with more than 2,000 students, I have really discovered what are some of the biggest missing links in young people's education today, in their skill set. And what can I do as an educator, as a career and life coach to really help close the gaps and help our students develop skills that really, really matter to help them become career and life ready. So I'm really excited to kick off this live training after a 5-month break. And also I got so busy working with my current students. I just like, you know what, enough is enough. So I'm live on all the social media channels. So let me know in the chat box if you are joining me live. Where are you joining me live from? I'm also live. Okay, hold on. I'm also live on Amazon. Like I need to almost forgot this. Just give me 1 second. So let me know in the chat box that where you are actually joining me live from. And I'd love to connect with you even more, and which social media platform you are joining me from. So yeah, anyway, so let's get started. And I don't want to waste anyone's time. Again, this is a live series talking about common parenting mistakes that parents are making. I used to make those mistakes myself that can really have the potential to hurt our children's future and hurt their careers. Okay. And so I actually have a slide. So I'm going to go ahead and share my slide. If there are questions that you want to ask me, feel free to let me know in the chat box. Okay, so let me share my slide. And the most common mistake, there are quite a few common mistakes. And today we're only going to focus on one. And in future trainings, and if you want, definitely join my Facebook group. So here is here is so I'm going to share the link here. And so feel free to join my Facebook group so that I can email you or announce in the Facebook group when you join my live training. I don't know if it's always going to be on Wednesday, but I will do my best to be consistent. Okay. So today, the mistake that we are going to discuss is grade. Okay. And how much parents actually focus on their children's grades. And I know this is very, very counterintuitive. And that's why I really want to talk about this, because I'm a victim. When I was a kid, the only thing my teachers told me, my parents told me, my neighbors told me, the society, the media, the only message that I heard as a student, as a kid, was that I need to get all the A's. I need to get all the straight A's, A+, 4.0. I need to get all of that in order to become successful in life, to get to a good school, to find a good job, to make good money, to have a happy life. And so I believed that for 20 years. And only when I hit my mid-age crisis, I realized, oh my goodness, my life was not what they promised to be. So I really started to explore this question. What are the essential things that will help our children eventually? I think as parents, we all want our children to be happy, to do something they love and love what they do, right? And also to make some good money so that they can be financially independent, they can support themselves. And so I think that's every parent's wish and desire. And unfortunately, if you still have the thoughts right now that grade is the only thing, or GPA or test scores, those are the only benchmarks that your children need to, especially I'm talking about high schoolers, college students. And if you think those are the only things that your children need to focus on in order to get to their dream school, in order to become successful in life, I really want to encourage you and invite you to think twice about that belief. And I'm actually going to show you some evidence in this quick training today. Okay, so I'm going to share my slide. And so share my slide. Oh, here. Share my screen. And so here is my slide. So again, this is the series Common Parenting Mistakes. And so the first one that I'm going to discuss, as I mentioned earlier, is that you guys, and including myself, I used to do this myself, focus way too much on grades. Okay. And here is why this is not the best approach. And research has shown that there is actually an inverse relationship between GPA and innovation orientation. So what this means is that the higher the GPA, which is grade point average, the less likely our kid is to innovate and to create. So really think about it, right? So like how interesting this is. For so many years, we're like telling our children that your score needs to be higher, your GPA needs to be perfect, get that 4.0, only to discover that doing that is actually hurting our children's innovation, because we all know innovation and creativity are very important future ready and career ready skills. And I have to say that I totally agree. After teaching so many students, working with more than 2,000 students over the last 20 years, I discovered that the students who have the best GPA are not necessarily the students who are most innovative and creative. And sometimes students do not have the perfect test scores. They are actually more creative, innovative. They are more likely to think outside the box. So the question you really need to ask yourself, and also have a discussion with your children, is that which one is more important to you, because they don't really go hand in hand, like test scores, grade, or a really important future ready skill, which is innovation. And here's another interesting interview between the New York Times and the senior VP of Google people operations at Google. And they talked about how GPAs are actually worthless as a criteria for hiring. Okay. And test scores are worthless as well. No correlation. So this is very interesting, right? And I found this article published a few years ago, and I can now imagine the situation now. Actually, Google launched their own career certification last year to replace the traditional four-year college for quite a few high demand positions. Okay, so you can really see their perspective on the traditional benchmarks that we use to evaluate our students. Okay. So again, the implication for you parents is to really think about, okay, so GPAs are worthless, test scores are not that important. What actually is that important? I don't really have time to talk about that in today's training. So make sure that you pay attention, join my Facebook group or subscribe, or just turn on the bell notification on my LinkedIn page so that you can stay updated on future trainings. But just know that this thing, like, I really wish I knew this when I was a student. I spent hours, I had a perfect GPA, my test scores, everything was perfect. And so I was really under that belief, only to discover, I think this is what many parents and students don't realize, is how much the job market, how much the future career landscape has changed, and what used to be so important is no longer as relevant as used to be, and what used to be not so important, like experience and skills, are becoming more and more important. Okay, so I just want to reiterate this point that grades and employability are totally unrelated. Okay, so if your goal is to help your kid get a scholarship, so yeah, maybe go after grades, have great grades so that they can get a scholarship. But if you have a long-term goal, which is what I have, my long-term goal is for my children to find a happy, fulfilling career that they can support themselves financially. So if that is your goal, then do not just focus on grades. There are many other things that you absolutely have to pay attention to, and ask yourself, do your children actually have those skills? Okay, so the same thing talking about, see, this article published a few years ago, and I think the trend has become even more clear. And so here, what I highlighted for you is that students with lower GPAs reported innovation intentions that were on average greater than their higher GPA counterparts. Okay, let me repeat that again. So students with lower GPA, their innovation orientation is actually higher than students with higher GPA. Okay, so again, if you are outside the US, GPA means a grade point average. But this is fascinating, right? So it seems like we're all using the wrong thing to evaluate our students. And future leaders, to become successful in the future, we need innovation. Okay, so later in the slide, I'm going to show you some of the future ready skills. But nowhere, or like people will say that test taking, or like what is your test score for SAT, in order to be hired for their dream companies, is becoming less and less relevant. And similarly, I think because this overemphasis on test scores, exam scores, and more employers, companies, decision makers, recruiters are coming out and tell us that our students do not have the necessary soft skills and the necessary hard skills to become future ready, career ready. Imagine this, right? After 3 years in middle school, 4 years in high school, 4 years in colleges, some of our students, in my case, I got advanced degrees, and I have to say that I'm part of the stats, right? Even after I graduated with my PhD, I still didn't have enough or the necessary soft skills and hard skills to get to where I am today or to become successful in life. So really interesting that more and more companies are saying this. And interestingly, they're talking about here on the screen, I highlighted a number of skills that are no longer in demand. Okay, so because those skills, what do I have? And AI, right? Artificial intelligence technology are replacing some of those skills. And so I want to pause this for a second. So come to the screen, remove this. And so I want to share. And so we live in Maryland, and our home is very close to a Whole Foods supermarket. So I walk to the Whole Foods supermarket with my baby all the time. Just about a few months ago, and I noticed that, oh my God, all of the cashiers are gone, and what's are in replacement is a self-checkout machine, right? So they actually installed so many self-checkout machines. And in my mind, I was thinking, oh my goodness, how about those cashiers? Do they still have jobs? What are they doing? Do they have skills? How are they going to take care of themselves? So I have this number of questions. But the point is that there are so many jobs as we speak, they are being made redundant, right? And so that's why it is even more important that our children have those skills that will not be replaced by AI. Okay. And I want to tell you one of those skills that will not be replaced by AI is not test taking skills. Even if your kid is an excellent test taker, there's no guarantee that they're going to be successful in life, because this is not essential life skill that most companies are looking for. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my slide. And it's very interesting that here they highlighted a number of skills that are no longer in high demand, right? Memory skills, computer technology, tech skills, quantitative, meaning like calculation, subtraction, very simple level, ability to repeat tasks, right? And when you think about this, especially memory skills, and when you think about your kid, when I reflected in my life when I was a student, and I think the skills that I practiced the most as a student was memory skills. And probably also the last one, ability to repeat tasks, repetitive memorization. And I think also to a lesser extent, some basic math, calculation skills. And if you are watching this live or if you are watching this on replay, I would love to ask you, like, what are some of the skills that you developed as a student? I would love to hear that. And you can see that if our students and if as parents we're still overly emphasizing, when our kids come back home, hey, what's your score? What's your GPA? What is your mark for this exam, for that exam? If we are still overly emphasizing on the test scores, we're only telling our students that, okay, memory skills are important, like their ability to repeat tasks are important. But how about the skills on the left side of the screen? Those are future ready skills. Do your children have some of those skills? And those are the skills that will make our kids future proof, right? Will make them career ready and future ready. Some of those skills are communication, listening, critical thinking, and interpersonal skills, right? And so this common mistake. And when you think about it, like communication skill, as for example, is one thing that your kid can memorize the definition of communication, right? I still remember because my master degree is actually in communication. My PhD is actually in public relations. So I took so many courses in communication theories. So, and even listening skills, right? So it is one thing to score really high on a listening, on a class teaching our children about listening. It's one thing to score an A in that class. It is a totally different thing to actually demonstrate excellent communication skills, excellent listening skills in real life. So this is the missing link. If we are only looking at the grade, we're actually missing the bigger picture. Okay. And I want to also share this. This is one of my favorite education model called Bloom's taxonomy. So I'm not going to go into too much details in this model, but for those of you who are interested, and also goes hand in hand with this slide. So when you look at those skills are automated, replaced by AI. So again, as I said earlier, if your children only have mastered those skills, they are going to be unemployed by the time they graduate. It's happening because when you look at school or reflect on, I don't know where your children go to school. So you can think about the classes that your children are taking, the school that your kids are attending right now. So are they practicing? What skills are they practicing from this hierarchy? So this is a learning hierarchy from the lowest level of learning to the highest level of learning. Okay. So as you can see, the red color, thinking skills, right? And the blue color, the first three levels are higher order thinking skills. And if you're a parent, I want to ask you, so which level of skills do you think are more important? The lower level of skills or the higher level of skills? Right? I have three children myself, and I also have been educator for 20 years. And I want to tell you that the higher level thinking skills are always more important, right? Because the lower level thinking skills are replaced by technology, AI, as we speak right now. Okay. And then you can see the lowest level of learning is remembering. Okay. And like this may make some people upset, but I want to say it, right? So like I think it's good that we have memory bee, spelling bee, like a contest, right, to test our children's ability to remember correct spelling. But I really don't see the point in that context. What's the point of our children spending hours, days, and so stressed to remember how to spell such strange words like accurately? And when we can just easily rely on the computer, why don't we have some contests that are related to creativity, creation, to really highlight our students' ability, our children's ability to leverage information, leverage the things they remember to actually create something new. This is so much more important than remembering and regurgitating. Unfortunately, I think exams, most of the exams are testing the lower level thinking skills. Most of the exams are testing our children's ability to understand something, to remember something. Like exam questions like the definition, like history classes, like lots of memorization based. Okay. And actually, after working with so many students, many of them indeed tell me that after the exam is over, they just forget everything. It's just a very short-term memory. They haven't really internalized. And the only way for them to internalize this is actually practicing more higher level of learning, which is creation. Okay, so that's why grade is now the best benchmark. That's why I really want to do this. I feel really inspired by this topic. That parents, we need to stop being so obsessed with our children's purely academic test score performance, because they are really not good indicators of their future success. Okay, and remember, because going back to what we said earlier, what I learned is that straight A students, they're very good at following orders. They're conformist. And hold on, I need to share something with you. And if we really want our children to be future ready, I have this, they need to become a disruptor. And I truly believe that future belongs to disruptors, and not just like conformists, who are like memory machines. And because even if they are so good at memorizing stuff, they still cannot compete with technology, right? Our human brain is so limited compared to technology. Then why don't we really help our students, help our children to foster and develop the skills that actually truly matter, right? So if as a parent, oh hey JW, thank you for watching this. As a parent, ask yourself, are you forcing your children to become a disruptor, which is how they succeed in life? Or are we forcing our children to become a conformist, right? And I noticed that children who tend to always score really, really high on exams, they are more likely to be conformist than disruptors. And that's why, one of my favorite books is, so if you join me live on Amazon Live, you're going to check out some of my books. So one of my favorite books is Why A Students Work for C Students, B students work for the government. For the same reason, because C students, oftentimes they are disruptors. They think outside the box. That's how they can survive. And so I'm going to, yes, definitely. So I really, really love this comment. And thank you, JW. Like so many teachers and professors don't want to grade individualized creative work. We have to change that. Absolutely. I was a teacher for 10 plus years. I was a college professor before I quit my job, start Classroom Without Walls. And I think the problem is not just teachers, it's actually we need the leadership buy-in. We need like people who are making decisions to really understand what is actually happening in the classroom. I feel like all the policymakers, decision makers who are making all those policies for us, for teachers in the classroom, those people, they are so detached from the classroom. They have no idea what is really happening. And the grading, like it's very hard to grade individualized work. When I was a teacher, and my classes, some of my classes were like 300 students, 400 students. There's no, like, the only way that I can evaluate my students' performance was give them memory-based test, right? Memory, understanding, going back to the model I mentioned earlier. That's the only way. When you have one class of 400 students, if you teach 3 classes, that is easily 1,000 students plus. There's like no way we give our students individual attention. And that's why I think parents is so important, that way we can really be critical and step outside the box. go beyond the benchmarks that schools are using to evaluate our students, our children, to actually focus on what really matters. And so I will go back to my slides. I'm almost probably will wrap this up in 5 minutes. If you are enjoying this, let me know. If you have any questions, also let me know what questions you have. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my slide share. It's just so fascinating, right? I bet not many parents know studies like this, right? The more they're pressuring their children, you need to get an A, you need to get a 4.0, they're actually hurting their children's future. Oh, okay, so we talk about this, right? So I truly believe, this is way homeschool because what I do. So we actually homeschool our children, and I don't really care about their remember. Of course, they have to know their names, the basics, but beyond that, when it comes to learning, my biggest goal for my kid is that they're actually creating something new. Okay, I think this should be a much more powerful benchmark for you to apply when it comes to your own children's education. The only when your kid comes back home, what you score, what is your GPA, but actually ask questions. What did you create today? What is something new that you actually created today? Do you actually leverage your own original idea to create this thing? Okay, so talking about, so today, to wrap things up, so today we discuss some of the common parenting mistakes. And so today's discussion focuses on grade or test scores, and why, if we're only focusing on that, is actually damaging or hurting our children's future. And so I really want to leave today's live show by giving you something to really think about. You are probably thinking, okay, I can kind of get it. Why test scores, memorization, those skills are not really, should not be a priority for my children to develop. So, okay, Dr. So what do you think are some of the essential life skills that my kids really need to master? And so this is what I have for you, according to Applied Educational System, which is really reputable company in the space of education. I really trust them. So the question I want to ask you now, and let me know in the chat box, what do you think? Do you think among the list of the 21st century skills that I'm going to show you, is test taking one of the career and future ready skills? I hope you have the answer. The answer is no. Okay. Nowhere did they mention that your children must be an excellent test taker. They must be excellent at memorizing, must be excellent at remembering facts and information. That's why we have Google, so that we don't have to remember all the facts and information. If I really need to learn something about history, I would just study, I would just use Google. I can still educate myself. There's no need to contaminate my brain with all the information that I don't need now, right? I'd rather use the time to develop skills that really help me land my future dream job than actually focusing on things that really don't matter. So those are some of the 21st century skills, right? Critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication. Again, see the big difference? You can score really high. You can even get a PhD in communication, but that does not mean that you will be an excellent communicator in real life. I have personally met people who have no degrees whatsoever, but they are excellent communicators, and vice versa. Okay, so literacy skills, information media technology, and life skills, and this is hugely missing in today's students, right? Flexibility, leadership, initiative, productivity, and social skills. So very, very interesting, right? They did not mention anything like our children's ability to regurgitate information, to repeat facts, to memorize, to see how many spelling bees contests they actually won. I think that test should be one of those jobs that need to be made redundant, because it doesn't even make sense. Why? I would never ask my own kids to do it because I don't really get the point. But that shows how outdated the system is, right? So they are still prioritizing what really don't matter that much. They are not giving enough emphasis to what is actually happening, what actually matters the most to our children's career and future success. Okay, so I really hope that you enjoy this very first series talking about and the common parenting mistakes that can really endanger our children's career and future. And if you have a high school student, and if you have a college student, a college graduate, and if you are not sure if your children actually have some of the skills I mentioned, and if you are interested in learning ways to help them develop those skills so that they can become confident, motivated, and career and life ready, and let their dream jobs and just feel good about themselves, doing what they love, loving what they do. So please book a call with me or my team, and we're going to have a conversation to see what challenges that your children are actually facing right now, and how those challenges are preventing them from becoming motivated, confident, and career and future ready, and how we can help you close the gap. Okay, so I'm going to share the link in the chat box, and I'm going to also share this. So if you are interested in booking a call with me, so you have the link here, calendar link. I'm also going to share this link in the chat box. Let me remove this. I'm also going to, so here is, here's the Facebook group. So if you are really interested in this topic, if you benefit from this training, and feel free to join my Facebook group, and so that you can stay, I just shared the link. I hope you got the link so that you can stay updated. And if you feel the need to speak with me, so use the link on the screen to book a call with me. I love this answer, dude. It's such a great, right? It's like, I just don't get it. Why people are still obsessed about spelling bee tests, all those things. And I have been doing this for 20 years. And among all the reports that I have reviewed, nowhere actually mentioned that, test taking is a very important skill that companies are actually looking for. Okay. So thank you so much for watching this, and especially JW, thank you so much for engaging with me, and I hope you enjoyed this. And I'm really excited to kick off my live streaming show again and to share lots of value with you guys. And also, I want to give you a big shout out to StreamYard for being a sponsor of Classroom Without Walls. And if you are interested, I'm actually probably will do a live talk about the benefits of live streaming. And I think this is something that every teenager and college student should really try to start their own live streaming show and to develop those essential life skills to be career and future ready. And so anyway, so big shout out to StreamYard. In the comment section, there's a link for you to check out StreamYard for free. It is my all-time favorite third-party tool to go live. And thank you so much for watching. And I will see you in the next live stream show. Bye.